Welcome to this week's edition of Oregon Minute. Each week, OCA Media features a guest or community leader who shares information on topics important to you, our listeners and viewers. New weekly episodes are broadcast on our cable channels as well as on demand through our YouTube channel. Visit ocamedia.com for more information. I'm Tom Kirchdoerfer. For this week's Oregon Minute, we're pleased to have Oregon's Police Chief, Jennifer Pagenkopf, as our guest. Chief, welcome to the Oregon Minute.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, Chief, I've noticed that training is frequently a topic you discuss during the village board meetings. Could you just share what are some of the training that you've been doing recently?
Yeah, so we approach the training in a lot of different ways. First, it's what by state statute, what our requirements are for training. So that would be our firearms, our defense and arrest tactics training, emergency vehicle operations training like that. Then there's also training we identify based off of the types of calls for service we're getting and the challenges our officers are seeing and reporting back to us. And then we purposefully seek out training to even better equip them for those situations to have the absolute best outcome we can. And then lastly, we try to listen and hear what our community wants in the training that we attend. So we take that all into consideration, and me and my command staff, we sit down and we, on an ongoing basis, try to identify the best training opportunities for our staff with a limited budget. And to be honest, it can be very challenging. In any work environment, it's easy to send a staff to a training. It's just you stop operations, you send them to training. But we still have to keep the village safe as we do these things. So it can be challenging working with different shifts, trying to get staff to training. And we have such a variety of training that's very important. It can range from crimes against people, crimes involving property, just simply interacting with the public, with the youth. So there's just a lot of different ways we need to approach it and a lot of things we need to consider.
Okay. So one of the other things I heard during a village board meeting, there was some discussion about staff shortages. Can you just talk about that and what is the problem we're actually facing?
So I've worked in this community as part of the Oregon Police Department since 2005. So that's one of the benefits I have coming in as chief is I have a good feeling of our community and where it feels like we're headed. The fact that we're growing on all sides of this village, number one, it's exciting. But two, we need to make sure public safety keeps up with that growth and that our community feels safe and continues to feel safe as we move into the future. So what I have been starting to talk to this village board about is that we need to start pre-planning of how we're going to be able to fund adding staffing. Now more than ever, our calls for service are increasing month to month. And we're still in a pandemic, so we don't have a lot of people going to work still. So once we get people back out in this community moving around and going back to what we all hope for a normal life, I do envision those calls for service going up. And we are going to more calls now than ever that need more than one officer to respond so that we can conduct our business safely for not only ourselves, but for the community involved.
You mentioned growth there, which you were discussing. Can you just talk about the changes that brings and how it impacts the police department?
Yeah, a community relies on police for a lot of different things, help in many different ways. Sometimes we're not the right resource for them, but we can connect them to that right resource. So as our community grows, there's just going to be, undoubtedly more need for that resource to be available. And we're the only resource in the village that's open, that's a village government entity that's open 24/7, 7 days a week. So I just want to make sure that, we can do so. A big concern that I've brought forward to the village board is that, and I've asked this question of a community member that we actually work closely with and have for years, is how many officers do you think we have on duty at one given time, no matter what? And this person told me 5. I told them that's quite concerning, because I'll tell you what it really is one. In a population that is 10,000 and growing quickly, it needs to be more than one at all times. Jurisdictions that we rely on for backup are looking at cutbacks as well. So even those partners we can lean on for help will be even more limited than ever, as they face their own challenges. So my hopes are that we can add on to staffing to backfill some of these positions and get more officers on the road at one given time.
Sounds good. So recently, the OCA Media collaborated with you and the police department to produce a video on what to do if you're stopped by the police. Can you just share how that video came about? There was sort of an interesting story there.
Yeah, and before I even go into it, I can't thank OCA Media enough for being an amazing partner with us. You know, my goal as a chief coming in, and I know it's of the rest of my staff, is in any way we can touch a life in our community in a positive way before we show up. Heaven forbid, the worst day of their life, they know us in a positive way before they see us in that bad day. And with COVID, now more than ever, we've relied on OCA Media to connect with our community, and I can't thank them enough for that. This project, or this idea that came out was, and I agree, my dad was a driver's education instructor, so I even went back to him and I asked, does anyone ever teach these young drivers what a traffic stop looks like, what an interaction with a law enforcement looks like? And he said no. And I was able to confirm this with some other resources. And this idea, I attend Optimist Club meetings. And the whole reason I do is because a good friend of mine, Maynard Stair, has been a very long member of the Optimist Club. And he's a great man. He connected me with this group. And one of the very first meetings I attended, another Optimist Club member said, "Hey, would you guys be willing to do some short video to help young drivers know and understand what a traffic stop feels like?" And I loved it. It was a problem, but then that person came with a great solution just right in the same breath. So I wasn't gonna let that one go. I reached right out to OCA Media, and luckily we were able to connect with a student that's actually about the same age as some of our new drivers. So we had that student, as well as an intern, high school intern here at the police department, help us as actors in this video. So Officer Jeremy Hatfield reenacted what a traffic stop looks like. And we actually were able to make other pointers about, during the traffic stop, you may disagree with the stop, but that's not the safest time for you or the officer to make that argument, and how you can make that argument by going to court and things like that. But also the importance of, hey, communicating to the officer, I'm about to go move and do this. Is that okay? It just reassures everyone, good communication and what's happening. We released that video. We got some really great feedback. And we enjoyed our partnership with the Optimist Club as well as the OCA Media on that. What also happened is we started talking even more internally as to, can we take this another level? And so now what we're working on is the possibility of next year, if staffing allows for it, is offering a free class, maybe an hour or two, where we bring young drivers in that are interested, and we can talk more about traffic stops and any laws that exist they have questions on. We often find that graduated driver's license regulations, so that's your GDLs that young drivers get, they can be confusing at times. So we'd be happy to answer some of those questions. But then also, to my knowledge, driver's ed doesn't typically talk about if you're involved in a traffic accident and what you can safely do after being in an accident. And one of the mistakes we often see is the driver will get out of the vehicle, and it can be incredibly dangerous. Sometimes it's just safer to be in the vehicle, depending on circumstances. But also to go beyond that, whether electrical lines are down or if there's some other environmental hazard that's going on, to recognize it and how to react. Part of the conversation also is if we can maybe partner with some of our local auto body shops to teach these young drivers how to change a tire and maybe some other functionalities of the vehicle they could be aware of. So it's a very exciting idea, and we're hoping to get that all sorted out and out to the public next year.
Sure. It sounds like there's some good ideas for videos there that we might be able to help you with. Um, if any of our listeners have ideas for programs, who should they be contacting?
Yeah, I would ask that you please reach out to the police department. They're welcome to email me directly. My email address is on our website, or we have our generic email. All of those come to me as well. But I hope that this proves to our community that, we work for you. And if you have concerns and solutions, or just concerns, or you want to talk about things and ask questions, we're here for you. And we want this to be a community-oriented policing department by every means.
Okay. So a couple of weeks ago, Martin Shanks was on the Oregon Minute, and during the interview with him, he mentioned some new programs that you're in the process of working on. Could you just share some of the programs and what you're considering for the future?
Yes, thank you for that question. I think one of the biggest projects, one that's going to take a lot of work, but will definitely have a lot of impact and positive change, is going to be our Community Citizens Academy. We had one years ago, and I still hear compliments about that, and requests to bring it back. And we've been just waiting to get back up to staffing and to allow for things to slow down. And I've come to the point I recognize I don't think it's going to slow down, and we just need to find a way to move forward. But there are a lot of people out there that want to know more about policing, and that's great. And so we're hoping that this Citizens Academy will be designed in a way to provide information. It'll be ever changing. We're going to change based upon, what's going on with policing at the time. But a lot of it'll be, use of force, community relations, the mission statement and core values of our police department, and a lot of the other challenges we're trying to tackle right now. Obviously, a big priority with me is, working on policing with diversity, equity, and inclusion, and talking about that, but then also hearing from this class, the Citizens Academy, as to, after they've seen all of this, after they've learned more about what we do, what do they think? What do they, I think like a cop. I've been in this profession way too long not to. I love it when I get a different perspective. We may not agree. It may not be something I can make happen, but I won't know until I hear those ideas. Another big benefit to doing a Citizens Academy is these students get a chance to know us at a human level, to get us to know us as a person. And I think what they'll also see is the incredibly high quality trainers we have. To be honest, I would stack up my trainers here at the police department next to any trainer in this profession. I'm incredibly proud of them.
Sounds like you got a busy future ahead of you. I want to thank you for your time today. We look forward to you visiting with you in the future. I think there's a lot of great things coming, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you for being our guest. That's this week's episode of Oregon Minute. Tune in next week when we will be interviewing Dr. Leslie Bergstrom, Oregon School District Superintendent. If you wish to sponsor or have comments or feedback about future guests or topics, please contact OCA Media. You're watching OCA Media, your Oregon Community Access Station.